Oh.
Oh, goodness.
Old church number 2,400 in my lifelong of traveling. And a lake, though. I haven't been to too many lakes in the travel life. 3 years we're hitting this month, next month. 3 years. Woo. Pray to 3 years. 3. This kind of fish only comes from this body of water. And
This
we
is
got
the
this
trout. But this is the
endemic species. Hopefully they don't overfish them. This fish, this lake. So it's a science guy. It's the oldest lake in Europe. 1.36 million years old. Way older than humans themselves. But fish were around. So this fish evolved and came about as trout in this lake probably a million years ago. See? When Neanderthals and woolly mammoths might have been running through the lands here. It's crazy to think about. Lakes in the world, 1.36 million years old. Fascinating geologic history, also human history. Let's talk about Lake Ohrid, the oldest and deepest, one of the oldest and deepest lakes in the world. A UNESCO World Heritage Site for its natural beauty and significance, and for its human history. The town of Ohrid here. That we're going to learn all about. Fascinating history. Sometimes known to some people as the Jerusalem of the Balkans, for bringing orthodoxy to the Slavs and part of the birthplace of the Cyrillic alphabet that was originally called Slavonic and Galgolithic, but more on that later. What people come here now for is the beautiful lake. Very popular in the summertime. Ooh, look at that little bird scooting across. Doo, 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 doo. Down there is the border of North Macedonia and Albania, who shares the lake. But here we're in Ohrid, modern country of North Macedonia, where the town is over here. So many countries today, like here in North Macedonia, and also Russia, Bulgaria, Serbia, and some other places, use the Cyrillic alphabet that was partially developed here. But more on that later. This lake formed, which stretches way over here and also way to this other side. Maybe I'll get some more shots of it earlier. It's a rather large lake. This lake formed with tectonic movements between about 10 to 4 million years ago. In its current state, it's about 1.36 million years old, the oldest lake in Europe. Exactly how pretty much it looks today. There is a twin lake nearby, and a third smaller one that's also nearby, in this interesting area on the modern border, like I said, of North Macedonia and Albania. Really beautiful place on the planet. But let's learn about the human history now, like this gate in Old Town. These old stone streets. And these old dock on the river here, which has thousands and thousands of years of history. Yeah. Alright, you can see a little bit of the size of the lake over here. Clear, clear water. People swimming. Old town up there. Awesome place. Alright. It's pretty cool how this is set up. Really like these tunnels. Little alleys go up here, and it's right next to the lake out there. This is classic local. Hello, cat. Cats. Cats run the city. This is a classic swim spot where I went to yesterday, actually. Local beach. And, beautiful. So it looks like this church was built on top of a much more ancient site. We got a Corinthian column down there. You know, up here is classic medieval Byzantine architecture. But down below there is ancient Roman architecture, and some of the pieces scattered around. You know, they probably used the ruins of whatever was here for the marble and stuff to create this massive church. Pretty cool. There's a lower level, but down below, ancient. Alright, the Byzantines, back when they reconquered the area. This was built about 1056. Church of the Holy Wisdom, Church of Saint Sophia. Yeah, around 1056, after the Bulgarians were defeated by Basil II. This was a major archbishopric center, so a massive church had to be built. In the theme of Bulgaria, Byzantine, Eastern Roman Empire. And it looks like a lot of these pieces scattered around are even older Roman pillars and pieces of things that they used. And just like every Byzantine church, they made a little model. They always did that. And they made little pictures or with the saint holding the model. That's probably a little newer, but anyways, very cool. 1056, almost 1,000 years old. The Byzantines, after Basil II reconquering of Ohrid, built this massive church to assert the Byzantine Orthodoxy power. Saint Sophia, which means eternal wisdom. Pretty awesome. Murals still exist. Alright, this is built between 1037 and 1056. Massive Byzantine cathedral built in Ohrid. This is just one section of it. We'll look a little bit in the inside too, some really awesome frescoes. So after the 1018 Byzantine victory over the Bulgarian Empire by Basil II, it became an important religious center, as it was already. But to make it even more important, it was the Archbishopric of Ohrid, so kind of for the whole region and the theme of Bulgaria, part of the Byzantine Empire. But that history goes up and down over the next several hundred years. This church stood the test of time from all the time. In front of it, very impressive here. Almost 1,000 years old. What makes it interesting is it's connected to the ancient history we talked about before. A 400s AD Roman basilica was on this exact site. So this church was built on top of it. 1056 AD. by the Byzantines for their new archbishop capital of Ohrid. All right, let's talk about what happened. All right, we have another angle of massive St. Sophia here. Impressive column work and marble pieces. Pieces from the Roman city, definitely used on parts of this. But up above there, you see that script. Not sure what it says exactly, but it's that ancient script that they used during the time when this was built, Byzantine era. And I believe it's Slavonic. It might be Greek, actually. Anyways, the Byzantines spoke Greek. This is their massive cathedral church in Ohrid. I love this one. This is a really good one. So here we are on the other side. Beautiful building. It actually was kind of like rediscovered. Some of the frescoes inside and some archaeological work in the 20th century, so not that long ago. Got world-renowned recognition. All right. Down below here, you could actually see some of the 400s AD Corinthian column of the original basilica. You know, it might have been something before that, actually, to tell you the truth. They say it was a church. All right, let's talk about what was happening after this was built. Okay, so Ohrid became a religious center of significance, and many churches were built, like this one. The Episcopal Center between 1083, though, and 1400, the city changed hands from many different peoples. While this church functioned as the city's cathedral, the city changed hands between the Normans of Italy came over here, took it over, Bulgarians to the Byzantines to the Despotate of Epirus, the Serbians to Albanian local families between year about 1083 and 1400. So some notable moments in that time was 1083 to 85, Norman descendants of Vikings from France who were in Italy came over here, took over the city for 2 years. 1203 to 1208, it was part of the Second Bulgarian Empire again. And 1334 to 1336, part of the Serbian Empire. And through 1336 to 1390s, nominally controlled by an Albanian family, named Gropa, for most of the time here and there. And this church stood the time through all that turmoil and changes. But what I really like is it looks like some of these, wow, that's pretty cool. Looks like some of these pieces, you know, obviously the brickwork is in Byzantine style, but some of these pieces were incorporated from the ancient Roman city to create this, which is common. Also common is there's always a little model created of the church, and like images of the saint would be holding it. I don't know, it's a Byzantine thing. There's the model. Massive. It's a big church. All right, down here, real quick, tied to the history. In the level below. So, actually, in the 800s, 900s, the Tsar of Bulgaria kind of built this up a little bit before this Byzantine construction. But before that, down below was an old Roman construction, which was a basilica. Could have been just a Roman Empire basilica, which means kind of an administrative center, but then, you know, they think it's built around 400, so the empire was Christian around that time, so it probably was an early church. So much history on one spot. Very cool. St. Sophia, Ohrid. All right, next known fact, 210 BC, King Philip V of Macedon garrison the city to raid different Illyrian communities around this area, which wasn't one people. There was several different tribes, stretching all the way from modern Croatia down to southern Albania, close to Corfu, Greece, and into areas of modern Bulgaria. Anyways, this area was still under the Kingdom of Macedon control, but they lost the control in 208 BC. So around this time, 300 to 200 BC, is when this Hellenistic theater was built. That still exists to this day. That got kind of upgraded by the Romans, that we're going to talk about in a second. A tour group is coming over, so we're going to film on the other side. Alright, this impressive theater still exists here up in Ohrid in the hills. Really, that's where this city thrived in its ancient time, you know, a defensive position above the lake. And Hellenistic plays happened up here, which the people loved so much in the Hellenistic world, ancient times. But next story that happens is around 208 BC, so 1200 or more years ago. Sorry, can't do math. Over 2,200 years ago. All right. So the sources vary about exactly what happened here. Again, lots of interesting content that I found about this place's history from different sources. But anyways, okay. 208 BC, it fell out of King Philip V of Macedon's control, who had a garrison here. I guess they were forced to evacuate because either a local leader that was kind of running the town turned on him and sided with some Illyrian tribes who he thought could give him an advantage. But most importantly, around this time, there was another people. I'm not sure who they were. They were from some place called Italy, and you know, it's not a people of much importance. They came over here across the Mediterranean from Italy, and you know, I don't know, it's something not important really happened. Just kidding. So 200s BC, the Romans come into the picture. Rome. Which this stadium was upgraded, and construction noises. Alright, we're up above the lake here. So down that way, prehistoric settlements had been on the large, deep water lake for millennia. One of the oldest areas down there, I don't know if we're going to get to it, it's called the Bay of Bones. 30 kilometers south of here, where they recreated some stilt houses on the lake that were there about 1200 to 700 BC, right in that direction. So in this time, there were several Illyrian tribes that were active around the landscape, as well as the people called Phrygians. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. A distinct people Herodotus mentions, distinct from the Illyrian tribes that could have been here. We're talking ancient history though, before 500 BC, before this was built. We're going to talk about it in a second. So, not a lot is known. So a lot of these things with Illyrians and Macedonians and stuff like that has gotten wrapped up into modern nationalism and passions, into mudslides of online debates and national identity, this ancient history. So I'm not going to speak on any of that, but that's what my research has shown me who was here long ago. Because the vast differences in many sources that I've found mention very different ideas about what was happening in ancient past, often with their own biases. So sorry if I offend anybody. Really not a lot is known. The Greeks and Romans are the only sources we have of their writings of this area before into the BC times. Okay, Anyway, people around here, it was an ideal place to live because of a large freshwater lake filled with fish, ideal for human settlement. All right, so around 500 BC, we're getting close to when this was built. Greek migrators seemed to come up into the region, like they did many places, but this time not by sea, but by land. And they founded the city known as Lycnidos, that the name Ohrid derives from. Probably a mix of the local peoples with the Greek name. Is how Ohrid name came about from Lycnikos. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. But anyways, it was probably, I'm thinking, there's not a lot is known, but it was a Greek elite ruling some different local peoples that were in the area that I talked about before. There's an interesting mythical, semi-mythical story, actually. Legend has it that a Phoenician king, so Phoenicians were originally from the area around Lebanon, and they spread out all over the world also, or not world, Mediterranean. So a Phoenician king around 1000 BC or before, 1200 BC, named King Cadmus. He ruled over Thebes, Greece. He was banished from his realm and came up here and founded the city. That's pretty cool. Origin. That's my favorite one, but could have some truth. All right, so where the fortress is, we're going to look at later. A very, very old 500s to 400 BC fortress was built by someone during that time. It could have been an independent Illyrian fortress. It could have been associated with the Greeks. But definitely the next thing that is known is the Kingdom of Macedon comes into the picture. So Philip II, the King Philip II, famous father of Alexander the Great, who was from the area called Pella, modern Greece, came up here, and this region was brought into his orbit after a great battle called on the Bitola Plain, sometime in the 350s BC. So 350s to 330s BC, Alexander the Great himself is thought to travel through this town on his way back from his clashes with different local peoples up by the Danube River. Ancient Macedon. Just FYI, the modern Macedonian people feel like their Slavic history mixed with those ancient Macedonian people, which created the Macedonian people. Okay. Maybe let's go on the steps or something. Alright, this is a gate into the old city, thousands of years old most likely. Probably spruced up over time. Still used by cars, including one that's coming. So let's look up for them. Yeah, into here was the ancient, 500 BC or before settlement. But very interesting, that harks to some of that history. Part of this gate is reused pieces of really ancient stuff. Right here, we have some ancient script. Might be Slavonic, might be Greek, I'm not sure. And over here, this is a chunk of Latin from the Roman era of the city. Still used gate. This is, I believe, yeah, looks like it. This is a piece of ancient Roman, some building, some structure that they reused to make this gate whenever that was. You're probably looking right. Doors here. Look kind of medieval. I'm not sure. Still used. Very cool. Old town. Alright, here I am. See a show. A theater play. But soon, more than just Hellenistic style plays were done here. Right here, we have holes actually that were to hold umbrellas to put over your head in sunny days like it is today, late August 2021. All right, but let's go back 2,200 years ago to the story of the city. So, people over from Italy started coming over to the region, the Romans.
And a lot of Illyrian tribes had already allied with them. Some of them fought them. The Macedonians also fought them. So in the 200s to 100s BC, early 100s BC, there was some massive wars, like the three Macedonian wars, the Illyrian wars, all kinds of things happening all over the peninsula. So after all of that, the legions of Rome were able to conquer this area completely and incorporated this town, Lycanos, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, into the Roman Republic for good, 148 BC. Then this area all the way to the Adriatic Sea, part of the Mediterranean, was made the province of Macedonia. And this theater was upgraded during those times, probably more in the imperial Roman times. But, you know, they probably added some Roman aspects to it. And they made it suitable for not just plays anymore, but also small gathering, gladiator fights, beasts fighting, animals, people killing each other right on this ground right here. Crazy. They love their crazy entertainment. But yeah, the city was under Roman control into the late Republic, into the Roman Empire for the next many hundred years. And a Latin name was Lyncindus, based on that old Greek style name, Macedonian name. All right. So the town maintained a free status, but Roman legions were stationed here, and really this is the best ruin that's left of those times, which is pretty cool, and it's still used as a theater to this day. So one important thing about the town here, it was along the super famous Roman road, the Via Egnatia, which connected modern day Durrës, Albania, which was known as Dyrrhachium, all the way to Istanbul, which was known then as Byzantium. So it was a really important road and trade works. This city was right on that road. From here, it went to another ancient site called Bitola, which has some ruins at it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there, though. But okay, that's good. All right, another view of a different part of Ohrid. Welcome to Ohrid. Super beautiful lake in the distance there. Reason the city is here, reason UNESCO ancient millions of year old heritage site, the fortress, which originally was the ancient fortress up there, upgraded in the 800s AD. We're gonna talk about and go in there in a second. Good view of the old town here that used to be inside the walls. Another aspect of its double UNESCO heritage site status, not just natural history, but human history. And 1295 AD Byzantine style Orthodox Church. That is definitely part of its history. There was once a rumor that Ohrid was such a holy site. It had 395 churches total. Some big, some small, some little shrines that a person could go to every day of the year if they wanted. Now, there's a good amount of those left, actually. That's a huge part of its history, but it stretches back thousands and thousands of years. At least to 500 BC, possibly even older, 1200s BC and before. All right, up on the craggy rock here, this is a big reason why this place is here into a long ancient history. Largely, this looks like a more recent, last couple decades recreation, but it's the story that matters. An ancient fortification was on the very bottom layer of this. Later built up by Justinian, I believe, in the Byzantine Empire times. And then later in the 800s, we're going to talk about Tsar Samuel. But you can see it's a great defensive position. Looking over the lake. And now it's a big tourist destination. Beautiful view, beautiful hills. Macedonia. Ooh, nice view above Ohrid. The ancient site used by whatever people were here long ago, 500s BC. Then Philip of Macedon was said to use it, and the Roman Republic built it up. The historian Livy mentioned it, 209 BC. Then Byzantines used it, 400s, 500s AD. And then around 800s to 1100s AD, it was also used. Built up kind of to the state it is now between the Bulgarian Empire and the Byzantines. So Basil II, the emperor, his nickname was the Bulgar Slayer because he battled the Bulgarian Empire so crazy all those years, and had some pretty crazy massacres. And it was crazy times, man. 1,000 years ago, we're all sitting up here talking into electronic devices and taking pictures, but almost 1,000 years ago exactly, this was a crazy existence. Imagine being on the ground invading something like this. What in the world? Anyways, also, this is very modern. You can see the modern cement right here. This top up here is maybe 40 years old, something like that. But down below definitely is very, has some old parts to it. North Macedonia, very cool. Awesome view. You can see the theater down there. All right, so all that history we talked about has to do with this place, mostly inside the fortress here. There's the other part of the lake that we couldn't see earlier, and the countryside and the mountains to the side. So way back, like I said, 500s or earlier BC, there was some settlement up here. Not sure exactly who the people were. Philip of Macedon had a fortress up here. It is thought 300 BC. And then the Roman Republic came in. Livy, the historian, in 209 BC wrote of a fortress being up here. Someone else in the early Byzantine times, 400s AD, wrote of a fortress up here. And Justinian, 500s AD, might have built some of this up. But the main part you can see now, except for some modern reconstructions, like those towers there to make it look cool, I guess. The main part you can see now was built on top of that. All that history was in the Bulgarian Empire times, which, sorry, North Macedonians, Macedonian people, don't mention this. It's a political thing, I guess. I'm not saying anything that this should be Bulgaria or part of any other country or any of this stuff. This is what the history states. All right, it's even called Samuel's Castle. He was the Tsar, the Emperor of the Bulgarian Empire. But obviously now it's part of North Macedonia. There's the awesome flag. I love the North Macedonia flag. It's so cool. The sun. All right. So enter the Slavs into the story, which are a host of peoples. If you haven't heard of the Slavs, you're missing a lot of history. So 500s to 700s AD, southern Slav migrations came into the areas, along with some other people called the Avars, which is another interesting story. It was nominally under Byzantine control, so they probably had nominal control over this fortress, but the surrounding countryside, not really sometimes. The Slavs were coming in, and then enter the Bulgars. So the really interesting thing about the Bulgars is they were a Central Asian steppe nomad people, kind of like where the Turks originated from, where the Mongols originated from. Tons and tons of history having to do with China eastern Siberia and areas like Kyrgyzstan and Turkestan. So they were Bulgars. They migrated over into Europe, Eastern Europe, from Central Asia, and they started creating their own kind of empires and kingdoms and mixing with the Slavic people, and that's a whole nother history. I have a video on being in Sofia, Bulgaria, actually. You can check it out. Okay, so it was an important city in the first Bulgarian Empire, and through the 600s and 700s, as the Byzantines battled the Bulgars around their old capital like Preslav and another city escaping my mind right now. In 840 AD, here in Ohrid, there was a resurgence of the Bulgarian Empire power because of some instability in the Byzantine times. And let's talk about their Christian history, which has a ton of not just Bulgaria, not just North Macedonia, but a ton of world history facts, a part of it. Next. Oh, up here you can get a good view. I'm not sure on the either 1015, 1018 details of the Battle of Ohrid, but Byzantine Emperor Basil II must have raided this fortress to defeat the Bulgarian Empire. Up here, definitely part of the city's history. Byzantine Basil II, thought of maybe as the last great military commander and emperor of the Eastern Romans. I don't know if he came in here by boat, which would be awesome, a naval marine attack, or over the hills from this direction, but that definitely happened here about 1,000 years ago, almost exactly. Awesome. To the 300s AD, when this stuff is from, this whole area here, really early on, Christianity was adopted in Ohrid. There's several Paleo-Christian sites here. Yes? Look at the blue water down there. It's really beautiful. Good view from out here. Good defensive position, obviously. But around 1015 to 1018, the Byzantine Empire took this fortress in the Battle of Ohrid from the Tsar of Bulgarian Empire about 1,000 years ago exactly right now, which must have been quite the task. Basil II was known as the Bulgar Slayer. And you know, that empire had all kinds of different people living in it, probably former Byzantine Greeks and the precursors of Albanians and Croatians and Serbians and North Macedonians. They were all in this massive empire. One huge part I left out was after 1395, this fortress was re-garrisoned by the Ottoman Turks. It's interesting too. Alright, next stop is that church. Alright, so you can see several pieces of pagan Rome, maybe even earlier, lying around here. Maybe used in the construction of this area. What it was before, it was a Christian site. It's not really known. But at some point in the 300s, mid-300s, it became a early Paleo-Christian basilica in the early days of the acceptance of Christianity in the Roman Empire. 324 AD, a bishop from here was mentioned in Sadurka, which is now Sofia, Bulgaria, some Christian documents. So definitely they started being Christian here even before that. In the times of Constantine the Great, which is really cool. Bishops from here, from this city and this basilica, participated in some of the early Christian councils that were super important into creating the religion and really the world that we know of today. Right in this spot. Awesome. Very cool Doric columns laying around. Different pieces of ancient history. Very cool. Let's see if there's some murals. We're in an area of Roman ruins here. A huge part of the ancient city. And it looks like they're doing some archaeological work over there. I think there's some murals over there and some other stuff. But we can't go visit it now, unfortunately, but still cool to see. So this is dated to from around 300s AD. This church is not 300s AD. We're going to talk about that in a second, but let's go down by these ancient pillars. Okay, Church of St. Clement, built between 800s and 1300s AD, but let's tell the story of the city now. An important, interesting, very fascinating story that goes into ancient history also, because this site right here, like these pillars you see, different mosaics around, were around 300s AD, Roman Empire, Christian art. And really, a lot of this stuff, and this site probably in itself was probably a pagan area, initially, a pagan temple, something like that, a sacred spring. They usually built churches on things like that. All right, but let's fast forward to the 800s AD to this spot. Okay, 840 AD, there was a resurgence in power of the Bulgarian Empire in Ohrid. This was their home base. In 865 AD, Tsar Emperor Boris, largely because in order to legitimize his realm to the other nations of Europe, Tsar Boris I decided to convert his people from paganism to Orthodox Christianity. He actually, believe it or not, he actually pondered converting his people to Islam or Catholicism to differ from his internal enemy, the Byzantines. But, you know, Islam, prohibition of alcohol didn't work out for the Bulgarian Empire. Drinking was a huge part of their culture, so that got scratched out. And even though the Pope from Rome sent some emissaries here in support of them, their Christianization, the monks sent here were very abhorred by the savage behavior of the Slavs and the Bulgars and the heretical acts of the people that they said. So not really a friendly interaction, plus the Tsar didn't want to be under the thumb of a far-off Pope in Rome. So the Tsar, what did he do? He created basically his own religion, his own form of Orthodox Christianity, to give them political ties but independence from Byzantium. So their form of Christianity had a lot of pagan aspects to it, which, you know, were heretical in different forms of those times, but they're doing their own thing, really. And let's see, blah, 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 blah. But the biggest problem was the people didn't understand the Latin or the Greek text that the scriptures and the sermons were given in and written in. So they needed some help. Other places around the same time were Christianizing, you know, 800s, 900s AD, also in Central Europe with the support of the papacy of the Eastern Roman Empire in Constantinople. So this wasn't just happening here around the same time. But this was unique around here because of why this church was built. We're going to get into in a second. All right. So a language needed to be developed to fully Christianize the people, all the Slavs that had no written language, really. So a few monks became dedicated to the region and the cause. Not just here, but really all of the Balkans and north of here also. Greek theologians Cyril and Methodist went north on their mission in the 800s AD. They started many schools for scripture, and the language was developed known as Old Slavonic, or Galgolithic. I'm saying that wrong. Sorry about that. But before this, around the 860s, the brothers traveled to Germany. They traveled to Rome. They lived in an area called the Great Moravia for a time, which is now part of Czechia, I believe. In the early days of development of the script. But this isn't about them, though. That's a whole different show. Cyril and Methodist, Saint Cyril and Saint Methodist. So at one point in the Moravian Empire, or kingdom, they're exiled, thrown in prison. And where did they come next? They came down here to the Bulgarian Empire to continue their mission, which happened to coincide perfect with the Tsar's plans of starting his new church, his political identity, and they needed its own language. Old Slavonic is what he chose. So their followers and students who came to show them the ways of the church came from all around. Monasteries were built, some still existing, and the religion was shaped in the own likeness of the Slavs. Not exactly like Byzantine orthodoxy. Some monks, like the Catholics, were surprised by the barbarism and unchristian ways, writing some very unflattering messages back to Constantinople. Racist, really. But the Slavs and Bulgarians were seen as lower classes, so this wasn't surprising. On to this church in this area. Okay. But not Cyril, Methodist, especially two of their students named Nahum and Clement, which his church is named after. The Bulgarian Tsar had them teach the new language, which became simplified Cyrillic, which is still used to this name, named after Cyril, one of the brothers that started the old Galgolithic Slavonic script that the empire here adopted. So Nahum, who has a church built to him near here, actually on the lake that you can't see near the Albanian border, he ran a school in Pliska teaching people the scriptures in this new language. And Clement, right on this spot right here, was built, and he ran this Ohrid literary school from 886 to 893. Was right here where they were teaching this script, which is pretty cool. And still, he's still the patron saint of the city and important to many Orthodox people all around the world. The Cyrillic alphabet still is used in Ohrid and many, many other places around the world. His tomb is inside here. Many pilgrims still to this day come and visit St. Clement. So in the 800s to 1000s, there was a constant war and shift and alliances between different peoples in Byzantium, the Bulgarian Empire. But around from 990 to 1018 about, from their castle and fortress above up there, this site, this important religious site and school for the new language that everybody was learning, Ohrid was the capital of that empire. But the Byzantines come in again, and we're going to talk about that next. So this church endures to this day, part of that history. People from Russia to Ukraine to Bulgaria to Serbia and a few other places that use Cyrillic script. Their whole writing and reading and everything they learned their whole life has a lot to do with this very spot where this church was built. This church built a little bit after his time. So the way it looks now, like the 1300s, I think. Some of it's obviously new. But lots of stuff around here is ancient Roman, which is crazy. And so it's just like in one spot right here, there's like 1,500 years of history above the beautiful lake. You can even see it over there a little bit. And that's it for today. It's hot. I'm going swimming in that lake now. St. Clement.
Oh, you caught.
Fucking hell.
Alright. Always like a sunset.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I was just walking to the ATM. I'm on the Via Ignatia right here, ancient city of Linkindos. They have this little recreation thing of a Roman thing that might have been here. Maybe it's in the museum now. Imperator Caesar, Marcus Aurelius Antonius, Pius Felix Augustus. So this spot right here was on the road that went from Dyrrhachium all the way to Byzantium. That went through here in the ancient Roman Empire. Dyrrhachium is now Durrës, Albania. Byzantium is now Istanbul, Turkey. And Linkinos is now Ohrid, North Macedonia. Right here. I don't know if this was it. This is the path or something. That's interesting. Nothing really looks ancient right here, but I guess this is where it went through. I like that. History. Alright, the most famous man of the city, St. Clement, looking up, holding his church, looking over the town and the lake. And this is the kind of modern town here. The boats you could rent or go on a big boat to different areas. And all right, let's wrap this up. Lake Ohrid and Ohrid from St. Clement, most famous man from this place. All right. So, you know, the Balkans into the 1900s. Balkans are the Balkans. So, 1912, the end of the Balkan Wars that ended Ottoman times. Serbia took control of the city. And sadly, in that violent time, they massacred some citizens that were Turks, Bulgarians, and some Muslim Albanians, which pretty rough. 1913, something called the Macedonian Revolutionary Group came in and took over the city. World War I broke out, and Bulgaria came in and occupied the city. It was independent nominally between interwar period, and then World War II, same thing happened, 1941 to 45. Bulgaria came in and occupied the city because of maybe historic ties that we learned about, something like that. Anyway, wow, look at all these people. I wonder what they're doing. Oh no, don't look at this. Okay. So then, after the World War II, the city and area was brought into the Yugoslavia, which created, in a way, which is when, in a way, the Macedonian identity was formed, which I won't totally get into. Now, I'm in my Skopje video, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, the history of this. But, you know, it was a part Yugoslavia, and in 1991, the breakup of the communist government in Yugoslavia, Macedonia was one of the only countries to declare independence peacefully, and Ohrid has been in the country of Macedonia, now changed to 2016 to North Macedonia. For more on the history of that, like I said, check out my Skopje video. Anyway, yes, the #1 tourist destination and resort town in the whole country of North Macedonia. Like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my Instagram and Facebook. And oh, buy me a coffee. I'll put the link right here. $1, $5 if you enjoyed this video. St. Clement, take us out of here. Oh, there's some kids. Alright, so this was renovated a few times, but it's pretty old. And beautiful, standing strong to this day. Ali Pasha's mosque from the Ottoman era. There's probably about 6, 7, maybe a few more old mosques from this era still in the city, and they're still used, which is cool. It's not open right now, I don't think. Oh, it is. Yeah, maybe I'll go in there later, check it out. Alright, let's go to the square over here. All right, so like most everywhere in the Balkans, enter the Ottomans. There's a extant mosque, and a few of them from this era, which begins in around 1395, and the walking district is the old bazaar that was built by them also, which has been upgraded to all kinds of tourist shops and different things going on. And yeah, so over there is Ali Pasha's mosque, still used to this day by the local Muslim population. And let's get to another area, talk about that. All right, so they retook the city. Constantinople, the old Byzantine Eastern Roman capital, fell just about 13 years earlier, 1453. So the Ottomans were kind of at their highest strength. So many mosques were built around the city, like including these two. Some other really old ones was built. I found in really old, 1466, kind of on the outskirts of town. A lot of the local population converted to Islam. Not everybody though. The bazaar was built. Much of the old town that exists now was built. That exists to this day during these times. But it still remained an important center of Orthodox Christianity as well as Islam. There were several population accounts of this time saying that the different people living here were a mix of Slavs, Turks, and Muslim and Christian Albanians. And from 1466 to all the way until 1912, several hundred years, it was an Ottoman city, Ohrid. And strangely, not a lot of information is out there about what happened in all those hundreds of years. But the city really, in those times, especially in the 1800s, took the shape of how it is now. So they attribute that to being under the Ottoman yoke. Then the Balkan Wars started, where in the late 1800s, lots of nationalist movements started happening all over the Balkans and the world, wanting to get free of the Ottoman Turks, and led to the Balkan Wars, where this area was liberated. We'll talk about that next. Okay, so here in the center of the old Ottoman town, not the ancient city. Over there, right where that signage is a 1,000-year-old tree that used to be a meet-up place for people. You have one mosque here, you have a church here, another Ottoman mosque here. And down there was these streets, Turkish bazaar, which still has a lot of foods like baklava and kebabs and same kind of thing hundreds of years later. All right, but in 1395, the Ottoman Turks captured the city, but a couple decades later, 1464 AD, they lost it again. Because the Albanians, with some Venetian allies led by the Albanian hero Skanderberg, came in the Battle of Ohrid and retook the city from the Ottomans, which Albanians and many people attribute to this day as a great victory. So the next couple decades, the Ottomans had their handful with Skanderberg of Albania and Vlad Dracula of Romania, Wallachia, and Transylvania. So during that time, for a couple decades, the Archbishop ran the city of Ohrid. It's kind of independent. But 1466, the Ottomans came in and retook the city. So just a couple of decades. Actually, I'm sorry, just a couple years of independence. 2 years. They deported a lot of the rebellious population, actually, to Constantinople. It's now Istanbul. To integrate them into the capital city so maybe they wouldn't rebel again. Which Constantinople. They just took a few years earlier. Hey, do you like this place?
Yes, beautiful.
All right, let's get back on our boat. A whole day trip, 90 USD. Give you lunch, breakfast, drinks, take you around the lake, wine. Oh, that's a good day. Monasteries, history. Woohoo! All right, Dobro Lake Ohrid. All this Balkan foods, I gotta do some laps, man. So I'm going in there. He says it's good to jump. We're at the secluded beach near this monastery. The beauty of everything. It's amazing, man. Oh, that's right where I was. Oh, now I'm gonna have to go out here. Okay, that's all right. All right, here we go. Woo! Beach got mountains and village. Very beautiful. Little village, crazy mountains. All right, we're out here about 30 kilometers south of Ohrid, and this is a recreation of around 1200 BC to 700 BC. I researched a village on stilts of nomadic people that used to live here. One of the oldest settlements. It's called the Bay of Bones because I didn't know this until right now. They found lots of bones of animals that were used as ornaments and in archaeological digs and different things like that. Animal bones. Anyway, so this is a recreation of what it once probably looked like, and one of the oldest human settlements on the lake. Also, in Roman times, later on, a fortress was built back there in the 200s BC, I believe, or a little bit after, 200 AD, around that time. Garrisoned by the Roman legions. So that was built above this long after the village was there. Anyways, awesome history. Clear blue water. I just want to jump in right now. The National Park Forest is here. Incredible nature. Awesome.
So there were nomad people living on top of the water on a big platform, surrounded on each side with water. Only one long bridge connecting to the shoreline.
Amazing. All right, little view on the ground level here. The arena. This is where the action went down. Gladiator fights. Beasts fighting each other, lions and bears and stuff, who knows, executions. All that gory, horrible stuff. I'm sure if I really saw that kind of stuff, I would be like, holy crap. Main thing though, it was a theater for theatrical performances. Hellenistic plays that the Greco-Romans loved so much. Cool. Part of Ohrid history. Also, we're about 30 kilometers south of the city, down here in St. Nome. Albania border is actually right there. Beautiful turquoise water, fed by springs, now that I know that. Alright, so this church built in the 800s AD originally. Been upgraded a few times. Originally named after St. Michael the Archangel. And later named after one of the guys, students of Cyril and Methodist, Saint Naum, who was friends with Saint Clement of Ohrid. Very cool. Big part of the history here. Later built during the times when the area was being Christianized in the Bulgarian Empire. And summer 2021, it's been hot and there's some forest fire problems here, sadly. But the beautiful nature around here. Well, you can't come to Охрид without going on a boat. Highly recommend it. Good deals, good prices. You can go on a small boat like this, bigger boat, take you all around to different places. See all the beauty. Woo! Man. None of the tourists wave. Smile! Hello from Lake Ohrid. Clearest water of a lake I've ever seen. Look at all those fish. Out there's Albania, the country we like right now in North Macedonia. And there's no roads that get to this beach, only boat. And I'm going in there. Boat up there.
Watch out, there's lots of boats.
Alright. I learned what this is. This is an interesting Ohrid only thing. This guy. So, on a specific day, St. John the Baptist Day in the Orthodox calendar, what they do here is, I don't know where they do it.
Off the pier.
Off the pier. Maybe right there? Okay. So it's the dead of winter in January, I believe. So sometimes there's snow on the ground when they do this. And they've probably been doing this hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. They throw a cross into the water over there, I guess a pretty far distance, and a bunch of men jump in the water and they swim to try to get the cross. And whoever gets it is like the protector of the city for the day, the year, not the day, the year. Protector of the city for the whole year. And they get blessed by the priest, and they get like a special prize, maybe some money, maybe like a TV or something. That's what they told us.
TV, I don't think
there's a guy that wins it. I don't know, whoever wins it every year. And then they do it again the next year. The same tradition. They jump in the freezing cold water to try to grab the cross. It's really cool, actually. That's very interesting. So this is a statue for that tradition, only found here. Nowhere. One thing I wanted to document is I heard this main gate area, the bottom parts at least, is near original, not original to when this first was built. You could see some of the Roman style bricks right there. Or whoever built this first, they had some settlement up here deep into history, they think. And then Philip II, king of Macedon, father of Alexander the Great, used it. And then the Romans, Justinian, Byzantines, maybe. But what exists now, except for the top part there, that's a reconstruction. But this part I heard is 800s. And after AD of the Bulgarian Empire, I think 1000s actually. I'll have to look it up, but Imagine coming to this gate. Knock, knock, let me in. That would be intimidating. All right, up here at the fortress, 478 AD, in the time of the Gothic and barbarian invasions during the fall of the Roman Empire. Ostrogoth king, which means Eastern Goth, on his march south down to Epirus, which is now southern Albanian, parts of Western Greece, I guess. Yeah, Western Greece. So let's see, fortified Ostrogoth King Theodoric, who also sacked Rome, came up here and couldn't conquer this fortress on the hill above Lake Ohrid and just moved on. Interesting, very cool. This gate, very old part, but up there reconstructed a bit. I was right. 1081 to 1118 was the rule of Alexios Komnenos, Byzantine emperor. So he probably fixed this up a little bit. And then later on in the 1300s, a Albanian feudal family kind of ruled the area, the Gropa family, and they probably fixed it up a little bit too. So what's exactly here? Pieces of all those ancient times reconstructed again in the last 30 years, the top part. Down here though, you can see some Roman style bricks though. So parts of it are really old. It's just like a clump, just a mix of different eras. Very interesting. Cool. Lake Ohrid. Ohrid, cool place. This thing's really cool. Ancient gate of the walled city. Got some Greek writing right there, I believe. Got some Latin writing, some old stones they used to build this up. Might be a medieval gate actually, but it's reconstructed. And that's how that was the first layer of the fortress. Walled city. Pretty cool. The gate. Ancient Lykinos, Ohrid. This isn't my route. I gotta look at these crazy doors. Metal doors. Crazy. Dun-dun-dun. To see. Looks like maybe Byzantine, late Roman period, 400s. Got some interesting images on there. Said that wrong. Created in the 1st to 2nd century BC. So maybe 50 BC or 100, 150, something like that. Hercules. Other materials. Other cool things found. Ooh, 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 ooh. I like this room. Where was that room? All this stuff found. 99% in Ohrid. All right, these are really old. Cool. This is a recreation of a grave site, Macedonian style, that they used to do for important people. There's a gold mask. Put the sword in there. It's all original stuff. Very crazy. All kinds of gold ornaments. 500s. Oh wow, 600s to 500s BC. Woo! Awesome. These, I believe he said what it says up there. The 500s BC Macedonian spears that were used in the early days of the Macedonian kingdom, found here in the city
the phalanx system of fighting. Wow. Oh, these helmets are really cool. These helmets are also very ancient, 500s BC, used during the time of the Persian invasions of the Balkans, the Achaemenid Empire, related to 300 fame, who came through here first, actually, and battled with the people around here. And pretty incredible. All right, so a little bit on the outskirts of town here. I believe this is the oldest Ottoman mosque in the city. We're a little bit off the lake, probably like a 20-30 minute walk. And the Ottomans built this here in 1466. The year right when they finally reconquered the city and the area from the Skanderberg-related Albanian freedom fighters and other peoples that were fighting them off. They came back in. There was a huge battle where the resistance people lost, and the city went into Ottoman control for the next 500 years. So this is one of the oldest mosques built, and a lot of Turks moved in, and the shape of the city was changed, as we talked about, or we'll talk about more. 1466.